This week we had a few markets where they went overextended, and I mean they extended beyond what my levels show for the week. And I just wanted to show how to almost reset the levels and how they can be used in different ways other than just on the weekly accumulation and accumulation zones. You can actually do them on swing high low, but you want to swing them from climax volume to climax volume. So where the supply and demand is coming in, that's where you want to do them. But I'll just show you for this week on the pound, and if I just put the 4 hour like normal, first 8 hours of the week, extend them out, you can see it didn't quite reach the absolute extreme, but I wanted to show how there's a big gap between the last two levels. What I did myself this week was, because every day, the first 8 hours of every day, or the Asian session, is also the accumulation phase for the day. So if you take the first 8 hours, the high and low of the first 8 hours, and do the same, you will, or you should get 2, 3, 4, 7, 8. You should get a similar pattern, just to show how fractal it is. I'll just make this a different color. And we'll do that for the Friday too. So we can see for the day cycle we had similar thing like you see at the beginning of the week. To the 100, back to the 50, up to 2B, and then manipulate up to 4A, back to 3A, and it didn't seem to go up to wave 3 this time, or the end of wave 3, but GM4A was the supply level, let's say. And the next day, what you had was false move down to 2B, almost exact, and then all the way up to 2B, then GM4A. So just trying to show how it's fractal. You can do this each day or each week, and I'm yet to figure out what the monthly accumulation phase is, which would be interesting. And so if you look at my chart, you can see that it almost, it's 10 pips off the GM5B. This is kind of, when it gets beyond this level, I'm usually almost reset the levels by just doing the 8 hours or the accumulation phase for the day. And I also want to show how if you put in your supply and demand lines, I don't know how people draw trend lines, but to me, I draw them based on where the climaxes and volume come in. So I like to draw my trends, medium-term trend on, say, the half hour or hour. And as you can see down here, there's extreme volume, quite a lot of demand coming in. And so we'll start the trend there. And you can see here there's a accumulation, manipulation low, lots of demand coming in here. So we'll have that as one of the demand lines. And although this isn't very high volume really, there's some kind of support happening here. And I mean that's it's the highest volume within this area. So from the same, we'll draw from here to here. You can see there's definitely some kind of support there. So on a reversal situation, we're looking for that demand line to break, which it did here. And then it went on to the next demand line, which it broke again. So we can almost confirm we're looking for a reversal at this point, and it does make sense because we're at the GM5B area, and I was looking for a reversal area. You've got quite a long accumulation, and you can also see it went up. So this has become now the supply line. Once it's broken, it's become the supply line, and it's fascinating because it's come up to test. It's the high of, it's the previous high, but it's also exactly where what was previously demand is now the supply, and it also coincides with GM4A, which is always a good reversal place as well. And you can see it. There's a small accumulation here, and we can assume that this is manipulation to the high, to GM4A, and it coincides with the supply line. So I just wanted to show that not only you can draw them from accumulation high to accumulation low, you can draw them from climax, from supply and demand. So if we take this example here, you've got, you can see it easier on the climax on the 15 and climax here. So demand, supply. And say you wanted to get a projection of your trade, if you traded this where demand came in here, the great target is always 2B, GM4. You can just see how fractal this is. And then it's funny, it's even come up to 3B as the high here, almost. I just wanted to show, I took a trade on the 1 minute, and I projected from this supply to this demand coming in here, and my target was 2B, which it went to. So even on this little, on the 1 minute chart, this little accumulation manipulation, it went up to 3A, accumulated a little bit, and then up to 2B. And that was my exit. I'm just trying to, with this video, I kind of had an epiphany this week with the supply and demand lines, and how it's not really that great of an example, but I imagine the reason that the market retraces back to some kind of line is the levels are already set up, right? As I've explained before, like there's this projection of, you could call it psychological support and resistance, or it's just how vibration unfolds. But if you look here, how from the start of wave 3 here, which is where we started our demand line, you'd expect it to go to the end of wave 3, which it did, but it continued up all the way to, let's say for me, it continued all the way to 4B, right? And then you've got your accumulation and manipulation high to the next 5A. And I'm trying to explain that the retracement on the demand line, like, because you don't know this demand line until this has happened, right? You would expect it to be the beginning of wave 5 after it having gone to wave 4. And we were one level, like it came back to GM3B, so almost there. And then the next target you'd think is the end of wave 5. And it always seems to, manipulate to the next level, so 7A. If we look on, this is the half hour, so you'd probably see it stop at 5B and, accumulate and manipulate up. Let's just have a look. Yeah, I mean, the extreme came in on 5B, which you'd expect, and then manipulate up to 7A. I mean, it's gone past there, but it's not always that exact, but it's come back to 5B. What I'm trying to explain is, if you look here, on this trend here, so this is the new wave we drew for the day. It went to the end of wave 1, which is 100, came back to the 50 on the demand line. Then it went up to wave 2. This is an ideal trend. Went up to the end of wave 2, and then came back to the start of wave 3 on the demand line again. And then you expect it to go to the end of wave 3 and then come back into to the demand line at the beginning of wave 4. That's an ideal trend. That's what I'm trying to explain. So it's like these demand lines are they're already there. And the market naturally wants to follow this pattern. But then you've also obviously got, the market is chaotic. It's not going to always be ideal.